Hey, welcome to another exciting episode of the Twisted, Bent, and Exhausted Entrepreneur Podcast. I am Jeff Harrison, and along with my dancing, oh no, she's sleeping, co-host who works all night making it happen, Leslie Spohr. Leslie, how you doing today?
Hello. Good.
Where's your dancing? Where's your dancing?
How's that?
That gets us started because
probably off key, but go ahead.
That's okay. Yeah, welcome to a really big show today.
Really big show.
Really big. Remember who said that?
Lawrence Welk. Oh, no. Ed Sullivan.
Ed Sullivan. That's exactly right. Two
yeah,
different shows, right?
But nobody knows that, right?
No,
nobody's watching this will know who Ed Sullivan is. But.
If you know who Ed Sullivan is, make sure to put in the comments. I'm just curious. And while you're at it, tell us who Lawrence Welk was, because those are both was people. So
was it Ed Sullivan, the pre-American Bandstand guy, kind of?
Yeah, if you think about it, he was that entertainment show where it's almost like it was an entertainment show you'd watch, and he would have guests on. And
he'd have new people to introduce them, like the Beatles.
Yes,
that was a big classic show.
Yeah.
That I was too young to see that live, but I know about it. American Bandstand, and then now who took over for Dick Clark was Ryan Seacrest.
Ryan Seacrest, yeah. All right, so we got off onto a crazy tangent today.
But this is a podcast. We should be able to talk about other things sometimes.
We can. You know, I heard something yesterday I thought that was very interesting from a standpoint of like I was watching or involved in a workshop, and they were talking about content and putting content out, and why isn't my content getting looked at?
Right.
And we're in an age, Leslie, now where really it's shifted from, hey, I have a lot of followers, and so when I put content out, I get a lot of engagement. It's shifted now to interest. It's an interest base, because so what that means is, if I have 0 followers, but I make a piece of content, whatever it is, video, audio, whatever it is, written a blog, and it's of high interest, I can get 1 million followers. I can get a million views, and that's because it's of interest to your audience. So the point of that is, if you're putting content out and you're not making it from a standpoint, is this interesting to my audience? And is it going to help them in their life or their business? Don't make it.
And well, so many more than just that, isn't it? Sorry.
No, because at the end of the day, here's the thing. Even if I search for a solution online, and all I find is everybody beating their chest telling me how great they are, but they're really not in tune with what's in it for me. They're just saying, we have all these great things. I'm the greatest. I rank number 1 in this, blah, blah, blah. It's like, blah, blah, blah. I want to see that you can actually do this, right? And so the more you get in tune, that make that switch, and this is bonus stuff. This is not what we're going to talk about today. But if you switch and go, wait a minute, is the content I'm making, whether it's a newsletter, it's a video, it's an email, is this of interest to my audience? Because if it's not going to help them, then I shouldn't even be offering it. Now, it doesn't mean you can't put an offer in there, but it means if you're a pest control company and you're saying, hey, I'd like to get people to call me to get ants out of the pantry, you have to make the content interesting to those people. Like, have you ever opened up flour and looked in there and there's something in there that's other than flour? And then all of a sudden you look around and you've got a whole community of those little red ants all over your, well, see, that happens to people, right?
And I made that mistake, right? So we let our clients, for executive errands, we let our clients take us in all different directions. They would say, can you do this? And I would say yes. And they'd say, can you do this? And I would say yes. And so over time, our business has exploded into diversification. We can literally do anything you want. However, my primary objective and what we started out doing was fractional estate management or absentee home care, right? So if somebody's looking for absentee home care and they find all this content for all these other things that we do, it could be off-putting, right? It could be we lose that opportunity because they didn't find what they were looking for. So we're going back to basics and focusing, just like we're going to talk today about how to get that attention, right? So that we can focus on our core competency, which is really important. How many times have you heard me say, stay in your lane, Jeff, stay in your lane. Don't get distracted by shiny objects. I'm always saying that, not just to you, but even people in my 5-day challenge, in the 5 Day to Freedom challenge, I say that all the time too. And yet I found myself falling into the same trap. So just because you're an expert or that you teach other people how to do things, which is perfectly okay, you can also fall into the same trap. So today, that's what we're going to talk about, right? How to get noticed and what you have to do in this day and age to get noticed, because everything has changed. It changes every day, actually. But we're going to tell you what's current right now to get noticed. So I'm going to leave that to you because that's your area of expertise.
Yeah, about 4, maybe almost now 5 months ago, I started noticing something changing, and we've all seen this, where we would have some kind of an AI overview show up in our search results.
Mhm.
And at first, people are like, "Oh, those are cool," but then as a business owner, saying, "Well, wait a minute, how's this going to affect the traffic coming to our website?" Well, we call it zero-click traffic now because, Leslie, stop me if I'm wrong, but most of us, when we go online and we do a search, what do we want?
We want results and a review.
We want an answer, right?
Yeah.
And so if an overview can give you a very good answer,
So you're not going to look any
why
further.
I wouldn't go any further, right?
No.
So in the old days, like 6 months ago, there used to be something that we would help our clients get, and they're called snippets. And if you could get a snippet position, we've all seen these where it's a little bit of information about that particular search topic, but they were an authority on that, and it would show up at the very top. It wasn't a paid position. It was the fact that, hey, that piece of content was so relevant and so valuable that Google said, oh, we're going to cut a piece of this out. We're going to put it at the top of the search, and you're going to have that position. It didn't even affect the 1, 2, and 3. It was the top of the snippet. Well, in the mind of us searching, we thought, this must be the gold standard because they have the top shelf. It's almost like saying, hey, there's somebody on stage I better pay attention to because they must be important, right?
But it's more than just content, right? It's how that information is presented, right? Is that what
Well, yeah, and we can dive more into that. So what I was saying is because I know you want to jump ahead. You want to get right to the meat of it, okay?
I always do.
So what happens is now what's happened is artificial intelligence has joined in. And I want you to imagine my hands here. One represents you and the other represents the internet, okay? Or the search engine. So typically what happened, you'd put a question or a query into the search bar. It would go directly to Google or Bing or whomever, right? Whoever your search engine was. And it would deliver you an answer. And that would come back in a list of 8 or 10, right? That would be search results. And it was so powerful to say, hey, I want to be in the top 3 because they get the majority of the results. But now enter a middleman. The middleman is artificial intelligence. So I don't have 3 hands because this is real me. But imagine now there's something above this side, the search engine. So now what happens is I put a question, and maybe the question is, why is my air conditioning blowing warm air? And I send this out. It no longer goes directly to the search engine. It goes to artificial intelligence first. It then searches and comes up with a response and sends it back to Google, back to us. And that's where we see this overview. Well, what that means now is your website ready for AEO? That's artificial intelligence engine optimization. And the answer for local businesses, Leslie, it's like 95% of them, no, they're not ready. They're not ready. It's almost like if we said, hey, are you ready for the big one? You know, we live here in Southern California, for the big quake. And we looked in your garage and said, you're not ready. You're going to be in trouble. You got no water. You got no provisions, nothing, no canned goods. You're in trouble. And the only people that are ready are Leslie out of 100 people. Well, that's kind of the way it is right now. So you're very, very exposed. What does this mean? that means you won't show up in search. And because we're kind of inherently lazy, we just want that answer. The ones that are will be in the overview, and they're the ones that are going to get the clicks, not the ones down 3, 4, 5. Can I show you an example of this?
Sure, yeah, please.
Okay, so let me give you an example. So I just pull this up. Now I have to pat myself on the back because, like I said, we started noticing about 4 or 5 months ago. So we started making our website at Swing Point Media AI ready. In other words, if you think of this, a chat bot, or excuse me, artificial intelligence, when that bot searches out there, it doesn't use the same language as the bot for the search engines. So when it goes out, like the search engines look for keywords, right? So those websites that say, well, I have all my keywords on, I have 1,000 keywords or 500 keywords on my website so I can get found. It isn't going to make any difference anymore. Now, because that's like a second language. It's almost like the chatbot or the AI engine. It uses French, and your website is Albanian. It doesn't see it. Well, guess what happens? It won't struggle to figure out, is it a good source? It will do what? It'll go to the next one. It'll skip it. And it'll be like you don't even exist in the search engines. And if we don't see you in the search engines, guess what? We don't think you exist. You didn't get into the conversation. So what I did is I just put up here AI automation agency in Rancho Mirage. This is the AI overview. Yeah, I'm kind of proud of this because it says several agencies in and around Rancho Mirage offer AI automation services. Swing Point Media tells us where we're located. And then I also get number 1 in the search. So I get this in what we used to call the snippet. It's now the AI overview. So my website and this other one, New Wave Home Audio Video, guess what? Both of those, which both of us just recently spoke at an AI conference, so I know his was going to show up, is we not only get the snippet or the overview, but guess what? We also get the links out. Like I have 2 over here, right? So there's a good chance I'm going to be showing up. The other ones do not.
Well, and remember the days when I first started my company, I got approached by Yellow Pages. That's archaic also, isn't it? Yellow Pages. And they wanted me to buy pay-per-click advertising, which is based on keywords, right? Like Google ad campaigns. Those are all based on keywords so that the search engines can find you so you can get and you pay per click. Now, it wasn't long before, I don't want to go into the whole, I think that's a conspiracy and that they write algorithms to make it look like you got clicked on when you didn't. But it turned out, in my case, I thought it was on Google. It turned out I was on Yahoo pay-per-click, which is like buried in those, even in those days, right?
Yeah.
So now pay-per-click doesn't matter anymore. Believe it. I mean, I think it's still valuable, but it doesn't matter like it used to. Now it's all AI, and that you're optimized for the search bots that are looking for AI compatible information, right? Did I say that right?
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
This stuff is all kind of gobbledygook quite often, but Jeff does his best to make it user friendly to understand, and I'm learning too. I give you an example of how I'm learning. So I write newsletters. I write 2 a month for each of my companies, and Jeff converts them into audio and what do you convert them into? Video and audio. He converts them into video and audio for me, and then he posts them on my site so that they're like blog posts. And I thought, this is so cool. Turns out it wasn't cool. Well, it is cool, but not cool in the way I thought, because they weren't optimized for the AI bots to find what it thinks blog posts should look like.
Yeah.
Right?
That's exactly right.
So, and it took me a while to understand that, because if we're turning it into video and we're turning it into audio and we're posting it out there, then logic dictates that you would be able to find it. Not so. The AI bots are looking for specific structure and wording that tells it, yep, there's a blog post here, and it knows its business because it's structured for me. So now I'm going to return that in the search results and make it able to be found. It makes it stronger from a marketing perspective, right?
Yeah, because imagine this in a really, what I'll say, a West Texas example. If I come to your home and I'm a guest and we're doing dishes and it's time for me to put away the silverware, and I go to your silverware drawer and you have a template set up. In other words, you have, I don't know what you actually call it, but it's in your drawer, and it's like, okay, the knives go here, the forks go here, the spoons go here. I now know exactly where it goes. In simple terms, this is called structured data. So when you make content, you have this type of title, you have this type of description, you have this type of body, you have this type of call to action, you have these kind of things on your images. In fact, your images, on a little side note, if your images depend on getting loaded by your customer, not your server side, we call it server side loaded or rendering, or customer side rendering. If this depends on the customer side rendering, all those pictures that you put on there, AI will not see any of them, because it's not going to waste the energy or effort to render them to figure out what they are. So that's a little thing that you should do, is say, I have structured content and I want to make sure it's going to be a little bit more expensive, but not that much. You're not going to notice it much, is to have your server render those pictures. So when the bot comes look at it, they're not wasting energy figuring out that that's a picture of, in Leslie's business, helping someone with their, let's say, whether it's with Concierge Business Solutions or Executive Errands, achieve their goal, right? And there's a picture of that.
Well, does that mean that the pictures that we buy, I use Deposit Photos, and we buy licenses for all our photos. We don't just go scrape the internet for them. So are those already AI optimized, or do we also have to do that too?
Yeah, you have to do that. So we're talking about a couple different things. One is, it's like, hey, I bought this milk at the grocery store. Do I still have to put it in the fridge when I get home? Absolutely, or it'll go bad. So you buy those from Deposit Photos, which now allows you have a license now to use those. When you put them on a website, typically what happens, it means, okay, it looks good on my website, but the person who renders it is me. And when I go to search and your website comes up, all the images, my service is actually rendering those, which sometimes could take a little longer. That is the problem. That's a hinder to your website showing up in AI searches, because the more images you have and the more challenge you have, guess what? It'll skip past you.
So is it still the case that in order to really get noticed, that you have to update your content on a regular basis? In other words, you can't just post one.
No.
I mean, I know now you're optimizing me for AI blog content. So, and it looks different too, actually. They look a little different, and I just like them better for some reason, the way they're formatted. So if I put one a month out there instead of two a month, then will I get as much of attention as if I do two, or is it better to continue to do two?
More is not better if it's not good content. So the key is consistency. It says content freshness matters more. But the key is that, hey, if you say, hey, I'm only putting one blog out a month or one article a month, but you do it every month consistently, that's considered content freshness. Now, if you doubled that and you said, well, I'm going to put out two a month, would it have an impact on the traffic when it's AI proper, is set up properly for AI? Would that mean a difference in the traffic coming to your website? Absolutely. Would it double it? No, it'd probably have a 15 to 20% increase. Now, if you went to 4 times a month, once a week, you would see a 35 to 50% probability that your traffic would increase, right? So it's freshness means, hey, I'm just being consistent. It doesn't mean, hey, I made this brochure once and I'm never going to change it. Because what happens is the search bots, whether they're AI or not, they come to your site and they say, oh, this is all new the first time. I come back in a couple of weeks, I'm like, well, Leslie hasn't done anything. I come back a couple of weeks later, I'm like, nothing's there new. I probably won't go back again. And so that means you'll fall further down the rankings. There's no chance you're going to show up in the AI automate or the AI overview.
So doing twice a month is good.
Yeah. It says here a static, let me just put that on screen. So a static local site without updates is more likely to get skipped in favor of active competitors. So if you looked at your competitors and you say, wow, it looks like the last time they put a blog up was in 2017. Can you leapfrog them by saying, hey, I'm going to put up twice a month? Absolutely. You can do it very quickly because of the fact that content freshness matters more. Right? Does that make sense?
Yep. Yeah, no, it totally makes sense. I just want to make sure that we're clear for our viewers that writing a newsletter is one thing. Optimizing it for AI search bots is another whole animal. And there's so many people out there, I'm sure, like me, who did not understand that because this is happening so fast. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm more computer literate than most. But this AI stuff is happening so fast, and it changes almost every day.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a rush. There's a rush by the big tech guys to be the first and the leader because whoever gets there is going to be a mega bazillionaire, right?
Yeah.
Not that they're not already, but they'll be even more so. And so we, as the business owners of the world and the backbone of America, as far as I'm concerned, the small business owners, we have to figure out how to parse our funds out to get the most bang for our buck and still be competitive in this new AI environment. And it's not easy. Right. That's why I rely on somebody like you. I'm so grateful that we've been friends for so many years. So it's not like I'm taking advantage of you now. It's like I've always taken advantage of you. So it's all good. I mean, you've been doing videos for me for almost 15 years.
Yeah, easily 15 years. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, and they've changed so much. I go back and look at the X's and O's we used to do 7 or 8 years ago. And it's like, oh my God, they're so primitive looking. Or my webinars that we've recorded and posted out there, they don't even look anything like what we do today.
But they were the best they could be at that time, right?
Yeah, I know. But what are you going to do now when it changes so fast?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like crazy. So anyway, go on. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say that, one thing that is in AI is local search signals are becoming more weighted. Now, what does that mean? It says Google is pulling more real-time local data into AI trends. So what does that mean? Reviews, event, inventory, menus. So let's use an example like menus. If I'm a local restaurant and I just have this static menu that never changes, I'm seeing, that restaurant never does anything new. But if I put something out once a month and there's a little tweak in the menu, it will notice that. If I get more reviews, one of our clients, as an example, a pest control company, we focused on this one thing about 5 months ago. And now what's happened is his traffic has gone from 100 views a month to now it's probably going to be near 1,000. And this is just in a few months' time because we worked really hard to make sure his website is right, his content is right, and we got a bunch of reviews for him where he'd been in business for, I think, 38 years, and he had less than 100 reviews on their website because they didn't think it was a big deal. It is a massive deal, AI or not. So those are the kind of things. Or if you're somebody like, let's say, the Chamber of Commerce, and you're not putting events and changing them on your website, they're probably not going to connect you with it. But if you're somebody like Katie at Rancho Chamber of Commerce, that was a plug, Katie, that constantly putting things on there, AI is looking for the relevance in that. So it's all going to.
But it's not just the content. This is the point I'm trying to make. It is the format of the content.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, this is that structured data.
Yeah, I can't stress that enough because I really didn't understand it for a very long time. It's like you talking about ClickFunnels, which I know we're not technically talking about today, but it falls in the same realm, right? It's still a marketing tool. And a ClickFunnel, I knew the overview of how it's supposed to operate, but I really couldn't visualize how it worked until I wrote that plan this weekend. And all of a sudden, when I got basically a Venn diagram that showed how everything fit together. And I was like, is this like a ClickFunnels? And you go, that is a ClickFunnels. And I'm like, oh, okay, now it makes sense to me. It's the same thing with all this AI. I did not understand that is the formatting of the data that matters these days. And so that's a really huge revelation, I think, for it's got to be for all of us business owners.
Well, here's a term that probably no one, or let's say very few people heard of. It's called schema markup. It's no longer optional. And somebody said, well, I didn't even know what it was to begin with. It's almost like in our last week's episode, we were talking about ADA compliance. You're like, I didn't even know I had to be ADA compliant. Well, schema markup, what is it? I'm gonna read an example here. Think of schema markup as like putting little sticky notes on parts of your website that tell Google and AI search tools exactly what each thing is. So without schema, Google and AI see your pages like a messy desk. We don't even know where things are. It can figure out some of the things, but it has to guess. Well, AI is not going to guess. When it's a challenge, they'll move on. With schema, you add clear labels to things and said, hey, this is my business name. This is our phone number. These are our customer reviews. Here's a list of our services. So you make it extremely clear. This is called schema markup. Or let's say you have frequently asked questions. Well, there's a frequently asked questions schema markup. So again, when AI or Google come to your website, they know exactly what it is. You're making it so easy for them, right?
Yeah.
This is not an option anymore. This is adding these labels, and sometimes a special format, which we've already talked about, is called structured data. So it understands your business faster. It shows your info in richer ways, like maps, stars, FAQs, and it uses your content in AI generated answers, like you saw in mine, more confidently. Sorry, we're losing Leslie.
No, you're not losing me. I'm sorry. It's just when I add oxygen into my brain, it makes me yawn. So what you're telling me then, if I heard you correctly, is that this is an ongoing process. And most of us, unless you're really talented, like I have two websites. One is in Lucy, it's the code that it's built in, and one's a WordPress site. And quite a number of small business owners have WordPress sites. How easy is it to do the schema markup for the average layman who understands WordPress enough to build a site?
Yeah, and this isn't just a WordPress issue. If I can share the screen, I made a list of info. What are those things you want to share? Can I do that?
Right. Sure.
Okay, so here's some. This is what I call the local business schema map, and this is the basic info. These tell AI and Google who you are and where you are. So business name, your official name exactly as it appears in real life. This is a lot of times we still do use directories, and we want all the information, all those directories to be the same. When they're not, guess what? A confused mind will say no. Google's been this way forever. So if you're on 30 different directories, which is easy to do, and your phone number is different, your address is different because it changed when you first got on that, then what'll happen is Google will say, there's a problem here. That's inconsistent information, and they won't list you, or they'll kick you off of Google. You don't want that to happen. So this is putting all this information, like your official name, address, street, city, state, and zip. It must match Google Business Profile exactly, not partially, exactly. So if it's one of those longer zip codes, make sure it's on there. Your phone number, include the area code. Website URL, that's your main homepage link. The business type, if you're a plumber, dentist, whatever it is, Google uses this to categorize you. And make sure you put your logo on there and use your logo image. So you're telling this what it is. So when the search engines for AI come through there, they see this. It's almost like, imagine you're looking down from Google Maps and you see all these things that are labeled. It says, oh, this is all in a way I can easily read. And now you become part of the potential search results, right? So this is part of it. The next one is hours and availability. The next one is hours and availability. So as an example, what are your opening hours? List exact hours for each day. You'll sometimes get a notification from Google Business Profile. Hey, have you updated your hours for an upcoming holiday? This is important. So like this special hours. Online service hours. If you have a 24/7 online booking or chat, you want to make sure to put that information in there. What are the services and products you make? Or it says helps you show up for specific areas. So the service names, example, AC repair, termite treatment, teeth whitening. Be very specific on that. Like that's why I showed up when I put in AI automation and consulting. Not many people out there have that. If you didn't know, my new nickname is AI Architect. So that's kind of one of those things I'm doing. Service descriptions, make them short, clear explanations. Try not to make any wordy things, but be very short, very clear. Pricing information, it's a little bit optional because some people like, hey, it varies. Like, you know, if I ask Leslie, how much does it cost X, Y, and Z? It varies. It depends on what size pool I have or how big of a house I have. But you can show up in what you call rich search results. Make sure you put your service area in there. So when you have your page up there, your website up there, and you at the very bottom say, these are the areas I service, be very, very clear that I do these particular cities. Don't just say, hey, in the Coachella Valley. Don't make it figure like, wow, is Desert Hot Springs in the Coachella Valley? What about Thermal? I don't know. List it, okay? Review and reputations. This is your rating, your overall star rating. So in other words, if you say, hey, I'm a 4.7 out of 5 stars, put it down. Review count, make sure to put the numbers of reviews. So if you have somebody like one of our former customers, Anthem Air Conditioning, they have over 1,200 5-star reviews. That should be on the website. Individual websites or reviews. So as an example, more and more of our clients, we are creating a widget to go on their website that just automatically pulls the reviews in, and it keeps them fresh and relevant. So every time somebody has a review and it's 4 stars or higher, it'll automatically go in this and it'll rotate 3 to 5 all the time. So it's very, very relevant. And then people and team. Now this is optional, but it's powerful. This adds credibility and expert signals for AI. Some people say, well, you know, I don't want to put my staff on there. Well, if you have somebody who is a AI expert, or you have somebody like Leslie who has an expertise in certain things. Maybe you have a particular designer. You know, let's say you have Erica. Is it Erica? Yeah. So you have Erica, and she has a particular skill set that is unique. It's okay to add her to the team because these are things that are going to show up. So those kind of credentials, certificates, and then again, events or special offers. Like as an example, Leslie, you do a lot of public speaking and presentations in the real estate market because those are your ideal clients. You should put those kind of things on your website and update them. And again, talk about what they are. But if you're an HVAC company, spring AC tune-up special. All these things should be on your website. These are all things that from an AI standpoint, this is kind of your checklist. Am I doing this? It's not a static website anymore, which we call a brochure website. You make it once and forget about it. Not that way anymore. These are things that are constantly changing. So when you put an event up there, make sure it's a name, date and time, location, and is it free or paid? All right. And the last thing is FAQs. I think this is a gold mine. I call them answer clusters. This is where the common customer questions, and everybody says, oh, yeah, I've got an FAQ page. But if you don't have a schema markup for FAQ, guess what? The search bots won't find it. It'll just be like, hey, you know what? I didn't know it was in the cabinet. I didn't open up the cabinet. It's there, right? So, you know, example, how much does it cost for AC repair in Palm Desert? Make their answer short, written like you're speaking to a customer. And here's a little tip. It's not on here, but what if you also made that available with a little video? Would be even better. And make sure you put that transcript on there. Powerful.
Look, I got to tell you, I'm exhausted right now. I'm all twisted and bad, but I am exhausted by just listening to all that because, you know, all of us are so busy, and I hate the word busy because to me in my head, what I hear myself saying is, this is not a priority, or, you know, I may not be focused on the right things. And this is definitely a priority. And so what I'm thinking is that that kind of thing, this is better done by somebody like yourself who can do this in their sleep, basically, right? This is your job.
Yeah.
When I start listening to all of this optimization and how to do the AI and how to get noticed, it is quite overwhelming. And if it is for me, I'm sure it is for everybody. So I'm thinking that do you have a package that's just a search engine optimization for people that you can get their website optimized?
Well, here's the thing. What you just said, Leslie, is new for all of us
Uh,
because up until, like I said, just a month ago, what we offered was SEO optimization services, which means, hey, it was all about keywords. It
right.
wasn't all this other stuff. But since then, we have moved very aggressively and quickly to implement these other things: the schema, the structured markup, the FAQs, all this information, so that there are sticky notes on your websites that we don't see, but the engines see, to help you get listed better. Do I have a number yet? I don't. I'm sorry, I don't really have a number yet, because every website is going to be different. Like, as an
Right.
example, I was at a workshop and they were asking the people in the workshop, hey, let's test your website and see how it scores based on AI search. And the very first one was 49 out of 52. And this guy is a website designer, has been for 20 plus years. He's very good at what he does, but he didn't think AI first. We need to be thinking AI first.
You
And
know, it's interesting because years and years ago, uh, I couldn't tell you how many because I do lose track of time because I sell time and I'm always working in advance, and so I'm never sure. But I had a client who was, and we may have talked about this before, he's a programmer, and he was in the process of trying to develop an AI tool that would think like a human would think, right? And he was telling me about how challenging it is because the synapses in our brains all fire differently. And then you add in maybe ADHD, or you add in cerebral palsy, or you add in some kind of something that makes your brain a little different than somebody else's. I mean, all brains are unique, but a little bit different. Then you've got to take all of that into consideration. And so at the time, he was not struggling, but it was a challenge. I mean, it was a real programming thing. And all of a sudden, it's like, I don't know who hit on it. I guess it was the Chat GPT guys, maybe. Were they the
Sam
first
Altman,
ones?
maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Who got the first one out there that this thing is just exponentially exploded. And not only has it exploded, but it's permeated every aspect of business now, right? Even for us little guys. I mean, and I call myself a little company because I think of myself as a little company. Like I said, we have lots of clients and lots of things that we do, but I don't put myself on the Google level. I mean, obviously, so it affects all of us.
Yeah.
It's kind of shocking in a way how much it affects us and how fast it came, right? And for me, how overwhelming all this is. I mean, you do a great job of keeping up, but again, this is your job.
And it's hard to keep up. It is, because there's so many things out there. I mean, I could easily go down a rabbit trail of, hey, what's the newest AI coming out that is only about video,
Yeah.
or only about audio, or only, and there's these massive trails, and I just said I can't keep up with all of it. In general, this is what we want to do, right?
Right. And how do you know when the algorithms change and the search bots change? How do you identify that?
Yeah, here's the coolest thing, and I have to blame Jeff Bezos for this, because about 10 years ago, I was struggling with making sure I was giving the very best for my clients. And he said something. He said, when everybody comes up and asks me a question, he said, I wish they would ask me this question. They normally don't. They ask me what's going to change in the next 10 years. He said, I would rather them ask me what is not going to change in the next 10 years. He said, because I can build a business on that. When it's constantly changing, I'm constantly in a state of flux. There is no foundation.
Right.
And so I thought about that for a while, and I thought, what's not going to change? So I went back and looked, and I said, human behavior has been the same. When we want something, a desire, it used to be we'd talk to Leslie before the internet and say, hey, I saw you did this. Who would you recommend? And I would do it that way. It was kind of belly to belly reviews, if you will. Then
Right.
went online, we started searching. Well, here's the thing is I want to be able to check it with somebody or something before I make a decision. I want to ask some questions. So I thought, okay, I'm going to build everything around that on human behavior. That hasn't changed. And I don't think that's ever going to change, not in my
No.
lifetime. So everything I'm doing is built on human behavior. The other thing is the algorithm is, here's the interesting thing. We are now the algorithm. In our last show, we talked about interest being the thing that drives content.
Right, right.
And it used to be like, oh, you had a lot of followers, so we're gonna make sure we put you out in front of a lot of people. Now you can make a video. This video today could be very popular, and we may not have, let's say we have 1,000 followers or 1,000 downloads a month, and all of a sudden this one thing, because it's such a hot topic and people have interest in it, it might get 1 million downloads because of it's an interesting topic. So really, interest now is the new algorithm, not SEO, not keywords, but interest.
Is that what influencers rely on?
To a degree, yes, they do. You bet. You bet.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, so now what we're saying is, last time we said, okay, if you're a business owner, small business owner, you need to make sure you're ADA compliant, and you may want to add a chatbot because it's available 24/7 to take questions and get generate leads for your business. And now we're saying it's no longer enough just to do pay-per-click or put a lot of videos out on social media unless they're optimized for AI. Is that a fair thing to say?
It is. And that brings up this next one, that really the way the AI works is more voice and conversational search optimized. And what does that mean in layman term? It used to be this one thing, like as an example, for your business, let's call it absentee homeowner, right? So that was the keyword that we wanted to get ranked for. But we, as the consumer, wouldn't go in and say absentee homeowner. We wouldn't put that in there. We would ask more of what we call a long tail or conversational type question. And this is where this is really changing, so that when we actually now add a question, it mimics human conversation. We call that long tail, meaning it's more natural language. Like, who in Palm Desert offers absentee homeowner care if I live in the Vintage, right? So that's more of the type of conversation when you make an article, that it's like, we offer it in the Vintage. We offer absentee homeowner care for homeowners inside the Vintage. Well, this is the kind of stuff that shows up. So it's changing the way we make our content, because it's now saying, they're asking this question, this matches exactly, they must be, or they're more likely they're an authority on that topic. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. It's still just overwhelming, though. I mean, I'm just trying to run my business, and now I got to do all this stuff. It's like, oh my God. So, yeah, it's crazy.
I think, in your words, Leslie, we have to start treating this like this is the new standard operating procedure. Once we kind of get it into our operation, and then it's just maintaining it, it won't be that big of a deal. But I think doing it right now, it feels like a heavy lift and overwhelming. And that's where somebody like myself would come in and say, it doesn't have to be overwhelming. Let's take it. Let's eat this elephant one bite at a time, right? We're not eating a whole pizza. Let's break it down into slices. And what's the most important stuff right now? And we'll just work on it. It might take 6 months.
So when we do, if I do a video myself, like a video ask, right, and I answer a video, will the AI bots find that?
If you put it on your website with the transcript and it has closed captions on it, yes, it will.
But if you just put it on social media,
probably not. It's not. It's some websites, some let's say like a Wix or Square, some of those type of website providers where you can build your website and it's a template, they actually don't let the bots scan your website.
Are you
Now,
kidding?
no. So now when that happens, guess what? You don't show up. You might have this big, beautiful site. And you know what? It'll try to search and say, well, it's blocking me off. It's called a robotext and a robot text and a TXT. And if it's not on there and it's blocked, guess what? We don't even know you're there.
That's horrible. All this
So
money and you could be not there.
yeah, I don't think that's going to last forever because it was okay before. Now it's going to be so critical that those big companies like Square and Wix and that type of stuff, they have to make it available for the search because that's the way the world is changing.
So I still have to talk to you about my results from my website check of how AI optimized it is. You just told me 5 out of 9 is not a good result, or 7 out of 9.
Yeah.
It's hard because, executive errands, I have no control over because of the code, the way it's programmed in. Whereas Concierge Business Solutions, we can control that. So that's a little better. But still, it's a big deal. All this stuff is there anything else that has to do with this AI optimization that we need to make sure we get in this blog or this podcast today?
I think one of the things that we as website owners, sometimes you want things to stand out. So as an example, there are headlines. They're called H1, and then it goes down through I think H5.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and so what happens is H1 is usually at the very top. That's at the main headline. Well, there should only be one H1 per page. If there's multiple, and I was guilty of this because I wanted stuff to stand out because it looked like it was too small, I made some headings on my website on that page. I had multiple H1 tags. Well, when I ran my site through there, it let me know that some of my text, my H1s, I had too many H1s in there. I went back and it literally took 5 minutes at the most to log in, fix those, update it, and then retest it. And it made a difference on my site being searched. I think I moved them to like an H3, which is still bold, but it wasn't as big as your headline. So simple things like that can make a big difference.
I got to talk to my IT people and tell them that they need an AI search optimization person because where they're building sites from scratch, they build all sites from scratch, but I mean, in a language other than WordPress, they're going to need somebody to do this because to go back and do it is a pain in the butt. I mean, it's crazy and costly.
Something I want to mention here. I think moving forward, the content that most websites and companies put out is going to be more written for us, the consumer, versus for the algorithms. And what I mean by that is before, a week ago when I started beating the drum really hard, right, about we need to get this done, is some of the content was really written for the search engines that really rated it. Like, did it have enough keywords in there? Was it in the headline? Was it in the first sentence? Was it match? Was it mentioned 6 times in your content? Well, sometimes those are not really articles that we can consume like this. Okay, this didn't really make much sense to me. Moving forward, we need to write this content in such a way that we're communicating with you, the consumer. So when I read it, it's like, oh, it's in the language I understand.
Well, that's what they did. Remember back in a zillion years ago when they had was it Fortran? What they used to program in way, way, way a long time ago.
I think you were right.
Fortran. I was learning Fortran programming in high school, and then I know. And then they went to this and that and all these different languages, which if I took a minute, I could probably think of them, but I can't right now. But then they got to one where you're actually writing. It wasn't as, it's still code, but it was in English. Right? If this, then this. If you do that, then do that. I forget what that's called. But there is a way to code that's actually like conversational. So it makes sense. And I think that's where AI is going to go, if it isn't already, is to make it more easier to do. But in the meantime, we still, people don't want to disappear. They put all this time and effort and money into building something that shows up in the search engines and shows up and people are aware of it. And you don't want to just disappear.
No,
right?
no.
And it will. I mean, it literally will. So we've got to listen. All you guys that are listening to this, call Jeff. Seriously. If he can't help you, he'll get you to somebody who can.
Well, the interesting thing is, like, if you go into a grocery store, the most valuable place to be is where?
On the end.
On the end, right?
Yeah.
Well, all of a sudden, imagine walking in and your Frosted Flakes, and that was on the end cap, and all of a sudden they took you off and they put Cheerios on there. And I'm not saying it could be the other way around. And now I'm way down at the end, at the bottom right. It's like I don't even exist because there's another 100 choices behind it. I'm now thinking, well, Cheerios must be the one I need to go with. So this is what happens. It's taking you off the end cap. In fact, you can't even qualify to be on the end cap if you don't make your website AI searchable.
Oh my God. Well, that's a sad thought to think about.
It is.
But it's the truth. I know it is. And you guys, if you think that this is something that's been around for a while, it hasn't. Literally, it's like this information is, as of the time that we're recording this, which is mid-August of 2025, this just literally happened.
Yeah.
I mean, this is not something that's been around for a while. This is brand new information. And so you should talk to whoever does your IT or find somebody like Jeff who does AI digital support. What do you call yourself nowadays?
AI consultant or AI consultant. Oh, I'm an AI architect. So AI automation and consulting. Yeah.
Yeah, because no joke, this is not just a self-serving plug for either one of us, but you really are going to need somebody who knows what's happening and that is on the forefront of all these changes, because it is lightning fast, this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, Leslie, you're so on target with this because, I mean, I do interviews or one-on-ones with other digital marketing agency literally around the world. And I usually have between 2 and 3 conversations a month with people. And last month I had a conversation with a gentleman out of Miami who's had his agency for 20 years. He has a lot of clients. And I asked him, hey, what are you doing for artificial intelligence optimization for your clients? He said, nothing. It's not going to affect anything. And I'm like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me?
He'll lose all his business.
Yeah. And then I talked to a young man. He's out of Europe, and we were talking, and I asked him about it, and he says, I don't even know what you're talking about. I'm like, wow. I'm like, this is big news. This is a difference of all of a sudden, we call it zero click. All of a sudden, the website traffic can drop off significantly. You've got to be ready. So it's not just you, the business owner. It's the business owner of the businesses like mine who may not even understand what the impact is, because they're like, no, it's SEO. It's SEO. In fact, my SEO guy for the longest time, he had been fighting me on some of this stuff because he just wanted to optimize keywords. I said, it ain't that way anymore. We have to do it this way. These are no longer options. And when we did this, we saw also the keywords are important. I'm not saying they're not, but these other things have much more weight to them that they must be put in there.
Well, before we end this today, and I'm going to go cry in a corner over this.
Sorry.
I want to ask if the address, I was having trouble in Executive Errands because all my marketing collateral had an address on it, and then we moved, and then I had to change the PO box, and then we got a real office, and then so it was a suite, so then I had to change the address again, and then I got tired of paying to change the address on this stupid stuff, so I just put Palm Desert, California, and our zip, or maybe just Palm Desert, California. In my Google profile, if I don't say, there it is right there, if it doesn't say specifically, if it doesn't match, will the search bot stop, or will it go on to the next thing?
No, now I'm just going to do a real quick assessment here. Is if you are a business that your customers do not walk in, like I'm not a retail store, right? Your clients don't walk in.
Right.
You can do what you're doing down here, which is area served. it says La Quinta and nearby areas. So if I click on this, it says, here's the areas you serve, right? You've done this correctly. If I want to contact you, now this is on your website, but if I look over here and I say, well, how do I contact you? Let's see. Oh, you know what I need to do?
It says contact us right there.
It does, but this is on your website. Okay,
Oh.
so this is your website information. I was just trying to see if I could get to your, if it gave me a better picture of your Google business profile. It maybe just in maps. Okay. And disregard these things you see in pink. These are tools that I have to help assess about a business. So like as an example, property management, it says property management company, service establishment. So like these are your GMB categories. You can, and this is a whole nother thing, but you can have up to 11 categories, Leslie. So you might want to look at that and say, hey, what other categories could I possibly be ranked for? Like right now, if somebody doesn't put in property management or service establishment, they don't know how to find you.
Oh, no, I need to update the keyword.
Like it might be window cleaning. It's absentee home ownership or homeowner. Now some of these topics may not, or categories may not be available in Google yet, but I would try to put in there, and that's just something I want to do all the time. But I don't see where there's an issue. Like you said, you open 24 hours a day, so you have that information in there. There's your phone number. You've got that.
It's
no,
got
you're
profile.
fine.
My profile strength says I'm like 3/4 strong, which means I got a quarter opportunity.
Yep.
That's how I look at things. And just listening to what you were talking about, I can see. I get these calls from Google all the time, which I just spam them. They're like spam to me. But I'm also wondering about Concierge Business Solutions because I don't know that I have a Google page for that one. See if there's
let's just look here real quick.
I don't remember. Being 20 years old, I forget what I have. So
you do.
Oh, I do. Is that mine?
I don't know if it's yours. No, this is in Marietta, Georgia.
Yeah, that guy's been contacted multiple times to take that down and won't because that's not really him. He doesn't really have that business.
So you don't have one. So you might consider making one. Let's just say Palm Desert. See if it pulls up something local here.
No, that's not good. Well, but I work nationally. I don't really work that much here anyway.
Yeah.
But that's not the point. The guy in Marietta, Georgia, is not legitimately a company, and I'm trademarked, so he can't even have that technically.
So yeah, that's something you want to do. And for those of you wondering, why doesn't Leslie show up there? She made something very clear. Her ideal climate for Concierge Business Solutions is global, not local. And Google Business Profiles are generally to help local businesses get more local business. If you don't have a Google Business Profile because you are serving a market well beyond your local, it's nothing to freak out about. You don't have to have one. It's almost like Google is giving you this free website, if you will, to treat as such, so that if I'm saying, hey, I happen to be in a particular city and I put that city, I'm looking for a plumber in that city, it will help me locate one nearest to me at that time in that city. So that's what it's all about. In Leslie's case, it's more important for Concierge Business Solution to be found on the internet, but not so much on Google search, where executive Arians, definitely we want to get that as strong as possible.
Right. So we'll have to look at that too. One more thing to look at.
Yeah. And again, this is one of those things. It's like, you have to keep doing this. And these are the things that keep us twisted, bent, and exhausted, quite frankly.
Really and truly. It's so true.
Well, I think, Leslie, and stop me if I'm wrong, it's almost like if I'm one of your ideal clients for executive Arians and I have multiple homes around the country or around the world, it's easier for me to hire an expert like you to take care of one in my area. And I just have to show up and enjoy it. And right. So this is one of those things, like if there are areas you're not comfortable with when it comes to this stuff we're talking about today, find somebody that can handle that. So you can say, hey, I'm walking in and I'm this kind of business and I love this. And this is why I have this business, for enjoyment, not to get bogged down in the fact that I've got to do this minutia that makes sure that when I turn the water on, the water comes out. That's
Right.
what you hire people for.
Right, exactly. I'm so tired now.
I'm exhausted myself. That was a lot. I normally don't talk that much during our session. That's usually you talking so much.
I know, and I like to talk a lot.
We'll have to do it.
But this is your area of expertise, and that's why it's fun doing these podcasts, right? Because we both have areas of specialties, and they dovetail really well together. So putting us into one podcast gives somebody who's looking for information about how to run a business a well-rounded approach.
Mhm.
And marketing is a very big piece, and it's becoming, we've always said marketing is important, but these days, with the way things have changed with AI, you had put up there a minute ago, you can't ignore it anymore, and you really can't. You will get no traction if you don't do at least some of this stuff. I mean, maybe you don't have to do it all, but you got to do some for sure.
I mean, you let's face it, and this is my final question. If you had a business, you were opening up a brick and mortar business, and you chose not to put an address on the business, you choose not to put a name of the business on your business, how can you expect to get any customers?
Right.
How will people find you?
Right.
And this is what we're talking about. This is saying we want you to make your business findable by the people who are looking for you. In this case, it's the AI, right?
We just upset all of the Google pay-per-click.
It's going to make it. You know what? I'm not sure how Google is going to create this, because let's face it, that's a tremendous amount of money that's being paid. I mean, if you go back, let me just pull this up one more time, and then I promise I won't get too long. If you look at this, typically these areas up here, it's reserved for what? Sponsored content.
That's right. I haven't seen sponsored content in forever.
It's not there. So meaning if I put an ad up, where is it showing up? How am I that said, hey, I'm paying pay per click? Where is this showing up?
It's not.
So it's really important that, in the words of Gary Vee, organic content is the ruler. It truly is the ruler. And when you do this correctly, it's organic. It's organic. It's not paid. Because like I said, I'm looking here. I don't see anything. None of this, as I look on here, is sponsored content. None of this is sponsored content. This is always fun, Leslie. Thank you so much. Hey, and thank you for joining us for another episode of the Twisted, Bent, and Exhausted Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm not sure when this is coming out, but when you're listening to it, that's when it's coming out.
That's right. Yeah.
All I ask is you share this with somebody that thinks, oh, I didn't know that, and I need to share this with somebody who has a website and local business. That's who's going to be impacted the most, not the big dogs.
We need to get this out there to everybody right away, because it's important.
I'll do it. I'll turn this around very quickly. They come out every Thursday, so I might have to change this around to be coming out Thursday, August 14th. Wow, August 14th. So I'll turn this around very quickly and get it out there. Geez, nothing like adding work to my work. So thanks, Leslie. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. That's my job.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great week. Bye-bye.
Bye, you guys.